Hey guys, welcome to Change Your Life. It is day 5 of the program. I'm about 2 weeks into my program. I started it on February 2nd, 2021. But today I'm going to talk about setting some short-term goals. And if you take a look outside today, I'm not going to be running this morning because it snowed quite a bit last night and still really hasn't let up. So I'm not going to go out there and risk injury. I'm going to exercise inside. And I use a program called Athlean X by Jeff Cavaliere. I'll put a link to that below. And it's a 90-day program where you have a calendar and you log your activity on a daily basis, and you can really track your progress, and it helps and it kind of pulls you along through the program. It's a great program. I've used it several times to get into shape. And actually, one of my short-term goals is based on that program. As I mentioned in my previous video, I tore a muscle in my leg when I was probably in the best shape of my life and slowly got out of shape because I didn't have long-term goals. And I didn't know how to adjust to short-term obstacles and setbacks. But anyway, there's a challenge in his program. It's called the 400 Challenge, and you do 400 reps as quickly as you can. So you do inverted rows, push-ups, sit-ups, and bodyweight squats. And you can do them in any order, whatever. Just do them as quickly as you can. So when I was in the best shape of my life, I did it in 7 minutes and 46 seconds. But I was using bent knees for my inverted rows, so it made it a little bit easier. But in his video, he said you can do that. Well, the number one guy right now has done it in 7 minutes and 6 seconds, and he uses straight legs. So my goal, one of my short-term goals, is by the end of May, before I'm 43 years old, I'm going to beat that 7 minutes and 6 seconds and be number one on the list. So that's a pretty high goal, considering the guys at the top of the list are probably in their 20s and early 30s. But that's okay. I know that I made 7 minutes and 46 seconds with bent knees. So I just need to straighten my knees and beat my time by 40 seconds. So that's a measurable goal. And I'll talk about SMART goals towards the end of this video. But really, even before that, when I first started out on my journey, I wanted to start running. And so to get back into shape, getting up early every morning and running. And you can see in the picture here that I'm not going to be running this morning in Montreal. But the last couple of weeks I've been running, and it's been in the around minus 10 and to the minus teens. And I decided I'm going to run this distance to my curling club and back, and it's about a little over 2.5 kilometers each way, so I'm getting over a 5K run. And as I mentioned in my first video, David Goggins really helped me with this into pushing through pain to get there. But the first run I made it to the turnaround point, and then I walked back home. Then the next day to the turnaround point, a block or so, and then walked and jogged all the way home. And then further and further until I was able to make it all the way down and back, a little over 5K, it's about 3.25 miles. And now I'm just reducing the time every time that I run it. I won't be running it this time, but I want to be using that Athlean X program to exercise this morning. Actually, I'll throw in an exercise cardio from him to exercise. So again, I'm not making an excuse. You can take a look at that picture that I put up about the snow out there. I'm not running in 8 inches, 10 inches of snow and risking injury or stepping on something to really halt my progress for exercise. So I'm just going to exercise inside. I used to not be flexible like that, but now I'm flexible, and I just make an adjustment. If I can't run, I'm going to do something else. So that was another short-term goal, really short-term goal. And then my mid-short-term goal was the Athlean X 400 Challenge. But I also have another challenge. I was looking online, or short-term goal, I was looking online for running techniques and shoes and things like that, and I got an ad that came up for the Spartan races. You may have heard of this. I'll put a link to the Spartan races below as well. But it's really cool. We have one in our area on May 8th, and it's a 5K sprint. So I'm running 5Ks every morning, so I can do this, right? Well, they added 20 obstacles in between the 5K. So, you're going to get muddy, you're going to get, you're climbing, you're doing monkey bars, climbing over walls, all this stuff. So it's quite a bit more challenging than just jogging a friendly or running a friendly 5K on somewhat level ground. So that is a short-term goal. May 8th is to achieve that and to finish it, before the time limit. I don't know if there is a time limit, but it's just ultimately to finish it as quickly as I can. So that's a short-term goal. I need to prepare and get myself ready for that. So regardless of why you're here and what you're looking to change, I want you to set some short-term goals. You may be a week into your transformation, your 1-year transformation. it's time to start thinking about and setting short-term goals, or SMART goals, as I alluded to earlier. So what are SMART goals? If you haven't heard of this, you can look it up online. But ultimately, they're specific. They are measurable. They are achievable, So you don't want to have to set a goal of, I'm going to learn how to fly, They're relevant, so they're relevant to you and to your situation. And they're time-based, so you need to have a time frame of when you want to accomplish that goal. So make sure your goals are SMART goals and that you're able to measure it as you progress towards achieving your goal, to know whether or not you are improving or heading towards your goal, or if you're getting a little bit off path. And so it doesn't matter why you're here. Like I said, it could be addictive behaviors like eating, drinking, shopping. There's so many addictive behaviors that people have. Maybe you're a workaholic and you need to stop working so much. Maybe you don't work enough and you need to start working more. You could be addicted to, just lying down watching Netflix, or you could be addicted to, working 18 hours a day. Maybe you want to cut back 2 or 3 hours to spend more time with your family or working on your health, your physical health, like exercising and things like that. So make sure whatever it is that, it is measurable that you're doing. So if it's eating, for example, maybe take out, a couple meals per week, or maybe just say, I'm only eating junk food one time per day. That's it, one time per day. And that doesn't mean stack up, 6 plates of junk food, but maybe you just have 1 plate of junk food per day if you're currently eating 3. Or maybe it's just junk food 1 time per week. It's going to be different for everyone based on where you're at right now, of course. For drinking, same thing for drinking as eating, or any addictive behavior. And really, when you're trying to change your addictive behaviors or take them out, I've learned, because I've done it many times, is that you're going to hit a wall, and I talked about that in the previous video. You're going to hit a wall and you need to push through that wall. Well, how do you push through a wall with addictive behaviors? Because we tend to just go back to who we were once the motivation wanes. We just kind of go back to our old patterns. Well, I had mentioned in my first video, Dr. Gabor Mate, who is a physician that specializes in addiction and treatment, and he says all addictions can be rooted and traced back to childhood traumas. It doesn't matter what your addiction is, if it's shopping, drinking, eating, drugs, whatever it is, it's all traced back to childhood trauma. It is not a gene that makes you an addict. There are certain genes that can predispose you to becoming addicted to certain things, but a gene does not mean you're going to be an addict if you try this drug or if you go shopping, for example, whatever addictive thing that it is that you're trying to battle. So we need to start thinking about what are the behaviors in our past that are, affecting our behaviors today as adults. And so that's another one of my goals, is by the end of February, for example, I quit drinking on February 2nd. And I've quit drinking many times in the past. But this time I set a goal of, by the end of February, I am going to respond to situations rather than react to them. And so how can I make that measurable? Well, by the end of February this month, 2021, at least twice per day, when I start to react to something, some outside forces that are causing me to react, I'm going to stop myself. I'm going to assess the situation. I'm going to let the information absorb, and I'm going to respond to it like an adult. We tend to react to things, us addicts that have addictive, destructive behaviors. We tend to respond to things or react to things rather than responding to things. And we react to those things based on our childhood traumas. And, when I say traumas, you think maybe abuse or sexual abuse and things like that. But there's a whole wide spectrum of the way we process things as children. We process things differently as children. If you take Gabor Mate's course, which I'll link below again, you'll understand that it's not, trauma isn't what happens to us, it's how we process it internally. So I won't get too much into that right now, but ultimately it's our ways of thinking that we need to change. And it's based on childhood traumas that occurred. And so the way I can measure myself is if I respond to situations at least twice per day, I'm going to mark it down. I responded to this situation. Twice per day, I'm going to be able to write this down. I'm responding and I'm not reacting in this situation and this situation. So twice that day. And I know that I react to things probably 50 to 60 times per day. So if I can consciously write down at least 2, that means my brain is constantly looking for times where I can respond to things rather than react to things. And so this is going to create, I'm hopeful, long-term lasting change. But we have to start with these short-term goals, and we need to set these short-term goals. And maybe in my next video I'll talk about long-term goals. But for now, I just want you to set your short-term goals. We're ready now to start setting those short-term goals, and do that, write them down, make sure they fit the SMART goal criteria, and I will see you tomorrow.